Welcome to Speak the Truth on blackmeninamerica.com. My name is Gary Johnson. I'm going to serve as your facilitator today. But our host, let's talk about our host. Our host is a fourth generation Washingtonian. His work with youth is legendary in this town. He is a pioneer in sports talk radio and television. His Inside Sports talk show format changed the way we talk about sports around the globe. His blogs are the most read on blackmeninamerica.com. I can tell you that because I checked the statistics, and nobody gets read more than Harold Bell. He is also the National Association of Black Journalists Award winner. He recently received their Pioneer Award for 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Mr. Harold Bell.
Thank you, Gary. Hi, I'm Harold Bell, and I am your host for Speak the Truth. First, I would like to introduce you to the team of Speak the Truth. Our political analyst and commentator is Christopher C.J. Johnson. Maggie Linton, if she's here, is a pioneer television broadcaster, producer, actress, and former Sirius XM radio talk show host. Excuse me. My next guest, Dr. Julia, I don't know if she's here or not, but anyway, Dr. Julia is a graduate of Howard University. She is a true believer in the transformation power of children and youth. She is following in the footsteps of her father, who I knew as a legendary community activist, Lawrence Guillard. Gary Johnson is our facilitator, and he is the founder and CEO of blackmeninamerica.com. The website ranks in the top 10 of 500 Black websites on the internet. Jackie Jones is not with us on this edition, but she will return next week. Let me introduce our special guest. She is from Princeton, New Jersey, a rising African-American high school senior who shares time between Montgomery High School for regular curricula and Somerset Vocational Techno High School for theater arts in New Jersey. She was recently inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. She speaks fluent Spanish and plays varsity volleyball for Montgomery High. She is an active member of the Girl Scouts of America, Future Business Leaders of America, and Jack and Jill Incorporated. She is also an author. So without further ado, let's welcome Miss Sierra Edmonds. Hi, Sierra.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being with us. You know, Sierra, there's a lot of things going on, and we wanted to get some young voices on here. We have one young voice, and he's still with us today, CJ. But I want to find out how young people are thinking about what's going on in world events. And I just recently saw a press conference with the New Jersey governor, Phil Murphy, and his new guidelines on coronavirus and outdoor high school sports. Bring us up to date what they're doing in New Jersey.
Yes, so I actually play volleyball, and our season is usually in the fall. So we start usually in August, but since COVID, it's been pushed back twice. So we've been pushed to spring, and now, just like 2 days ago, Phil Murphy just said that we're moved to March 1st. So that was a big disappointment because we're not sure if we're actually going to have it because it keeps getting pushed to the end of the year. And we just actually, on Friday, they just announced that Montgomery High School, which is my high school, will be shut down until January 19th.
Wow.
So we will not be having school. We will have it virtually, but we won't be able to go in person until after the holidays, which is pretty upsetting as well because we all want to see our friends, and it's just very unfortunate. And as far as football, because that's the biggest sport, actually on our school team, they just shut it down because a boy just got corona, and they think that it would have spread across the entire team. So that was another reason our school shut down. So football is canceled to be determined. Sorry.
Right. That's all right. No, that's all right. You're doing fine. What about the coronavirus? What about the town, restaurants, and those public outings? What's happening there?
So bars are going to be canceled right now. There is outdoor seating, but there's also indoor. I actually just went to a restaurant yesterday. So that is pretty fine right now. They might start moderating it in bits. I know that especially in Bridgewater, they've been moderating who can come in and who can't. it's since it's big restaurants, they still limit who can come in. So it's not like you can sit at any table. They have pushed it all around. So it's very small numbers. And a lot of small businesses have actually shut down because the volume of people isn't as great, so they couldn't keep up. So that's been another big problem, because at my school, a lot of my friends, their families own the small businesses, so they've really been hurting over the past couple months.
Right. Now, you know, we're having problems with our presidency, see, and we don't know who's on first. You know, sometimes it's Trump until January the 20th, and other times it's Biden trying to get in and they're blocking him out. What do you think of this adult shenanigans that are going on between our leadership? How do you young people feel about what you're seeing?
So I actually have a personal experience right now. One of my best friends is actually a Republican, and seeing the two, one of our biggest leaders, both of them fighting, it's really wearing and tearing on high school relationships, because we're so on different parts of the spectrum. It's hard to kind of compromise because our leaders are not compromising. So it's really reflecting in us because we look up to them. But just by seeing them constantly arguing and not compromising and just really degrading each other's character, it's really been hurting us high school students, because we're not able to we try our best to try to compromise, but if we're both looking at both leaders and we're kind of following their footsteps, we're never going to come to a compromisation. So I'm just really praying that Biden goes through with his words where he says, we aren't Democrats and we aren't Republicans, but we're the American people. I'm really hoping him and Kamala can sort of bridge that gap, because if not, it's really going to be detrimental to our society. And I can already see it right now in high school friend groups. People are splitting up. Just last week, one of the closest friend groups in our grade has actually split up because of their political beliefs. It's just been very hectic. So it's going to be interesting these next 4 years.
This is a question I asked CJ last week, and all of a sudden this week I see it all in the news, and they're saying hundreds of hip hop and rappers have been murdered around the country. Now, this is our young folks. This is our future. What is going on there? What do you see going on there? These guys, these kids murdering each other.
Yeah, I'm grateful to live in a town where we don't have that much violence, but by seeing it on the news and everything, it's really been hurting, because it's sad that it's our people that are killing each other, and it's also the police that are killing us, the people we're supposed to be looking to for aid. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. We're always looking around behind our shoulders. It's just sad. We can't ever live in peace, which is very not fun. And it's sad that other people have privilege, but that's just the way the world works, and we have to go with it. But I'm just hoping that when Biden goes into office, he can sort of put these restrictions on these police brutalities. And I'm hoping that, I know they say they want to defund the police, but in all honesty, I do not feel that by defunding the police, it's going to aid, because I think we need to put money toward teaching the police how to interact with people of minority, because a lot of them do not have experience, do not have friends that are minorities, and they're just abusing this power. But by defunding them, it's not going to teach them how to fix their actions. We need to not fund more, but we need to be focusing on classes and not just admitting police officers just because they meet some sort of requirement. We need to really be putting in more action to seeing people's characters, doing more background checks, and, you know, just try to help our community as best as we can.
CJ, would you like to elaborate on that? Follow up on what Sierra just said?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of defund the police. I think you have it pretty much correct. It's not defund and just taking money away from them. It's more in redirecting those funds into things that'll be more productive to the community, where communities don't feel like they're terrorized by the police forces there. So that's more of the defund the police movement. And more interestingly, no elected Democrats actually ran on the defund the police other than Cori Bush, who won her race spectacularly. So the races that the issues that the Democrats tiptoed around were the issues that the American people wanted, which is why the Democrats got so thoroughly destroyed in the down ballot races in every race that wasn't involving Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay, Juanita, how about coming in and hear what you have to say about this?
I mean, I agree with what Sierra and CJ are saying. my position on defunding the police is kind of similar to what Sierra is saying. I don't think that taking away funding and minimizing our law enforcement protection is the answer. I believe, like she said, that education and training and those kind of things, and background checks and history of people with in other areas that they may have worked in, finding out just who they are, and that's it. I mean, it saddens me. The young people that I talk to frequently in my neighborhood have such an apathetic ideology, you know. They've kind of just like thrown their hands up. When Sierra was talking about how young people look to leadership, you know, we don't have a lot of Black leadership to look to in our communities. That's the first problem. So we have to look at who we're presented as leaders. In the case of the presidential election, it was really cut and dry. You're going to go with Trump or you're going to go with Biden. And up until the election, there was so much chaos and fighting and between the Democrats and Republicans with regard to funding and what they thought we needed and what they didn't think. And at the end of the day, nothing got resolved. The only thing that was profound was their hatred of each other, their dislike of each other. And so I can imagine that if you have a group of young people, and some are Republicans and some are Democrats, they don't have a lot of experience of sitting down at the table and respecting each other's differences, even if they don't agree, and still trying to come to some resolutions. And they don't have any example of that without top leadership in this country. So I just, you know, I mean, you guys hear me say it all the time, and that's just the way that I know that I can participate in change, and that is the grassroots stuff. You know, for me, that's where my strength is, and so it starts at home. It starts in the neighborhood, and I'm sorry, but if I ask these kids out here, you know, who they look to, what Black leadership do they look to, they have no answers. Their answers are rappers. Their answers are sports figures. They answer, you know, they just don't have a clue. And they don't have a clue about their history. You know, they don't know about their ancestors. It's just so much that is missing from this generation of people that we're not giving them, but at the same time, we have the tall glass of water that says you're going to be our next future leaders. And then, you know, we have expectations on all the things that they may be able to accomplish as they get older. And I think it's unfair. How do you expect them to be good leaders if they don't have the education, if they don't have the exposure, if they're not sitting down at tables looking at healthy ways to negotiate and debate? You know, so like I said, for me, I'm one person, touch one person. I recognize other people, other young people that may have different skill sets to be able to communicate with their peers in a way to maybe open up their eyes. I encourage them, but you know, it takes a village. It takes all of what everybody is doing, and us somehow finding a way to if nothing else, create smaller groups of people that'll have an impact in the community, smaller groups that'll have an impact in the education system, smaller groups that'll have an impact in the political, you know, just a bunch of small groups taking on different tasks that can make them at the end of the day feel like they're doing something positive to contribute to the growth and development of our young people. That's all I got, you know.
Gary?
Well, I can't say or add too much to what's already been said, except Black people probably call the police more than anybody. So we definitely have to have it redirected, as Sierra and CJ stated. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all for that.
Okay. Eric Brawls, come on in here. Tell us who you are, what you all about, Eric.
Oh, I'm just here as a spectator, listening to
Oh,
Sierra
okay.
Edmonds.
Oh,
But thank you. Yeah. So I want to
all
hear her
right.
wisdom and the young people talk.
Okay. All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
One of the things that we're getting ready to come up with, and I want to bring this back to Sierra, they get ready to come up with a coronavirus vaccine. And they're talking about who shall be first and who shall be last. From where you sitting and what you've seen in your young life, they come out with this. Who do you think will be first and who do you think will be last?
So I know this sounds bad, but I'm not the pro-vaccine for corona, just because I know the science is, and I know that I know we have increased technology, but honestly, we haven't had the full time 10-year period to test out this vaccine. So even though people will be taking it, it might work now, but we do not know the side effects when years to come. So as far as that, I will not be in line to take it, but I think the first people that will be taking it is definitely not New York, because Trump just said New York cannot get any vaccines because he's in a fight with the governor, which is lovely. But I think the first people that will get it will probably be the states that he supports. I'm not sure if New Jersey is going to be high on that list, in all honesty, but it probably will be the Republican states first while he's in office, and then it will trickle down to New Jersey and maybe the other states that are Democrat. But I'm not quite sure how that works for vaccine. I'm not sure how it gets distributed and who's chosen.
Okay, let me make myself more clear. Who do you think will get it? The rich people, or the poor people, or the black people, or the white people? Who you think? Who do you think?
Probably the rich people, for sure, and the white people, of course.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I think the bigger issue is, like I said, our healthcare system is the only one in the world that's run for profit and not for healthcare. So it's, as you said, it's going to be about them churning profits. And then the secondary objective is going to be to heal people from COVID or to treat people from COVID. But the number one objective is to make money for big pharma. So that's going to be the number one objective. There are some people that say that your testing for coronavirus is free, but not your treatment for coronavirus. So you can go get tested for free under Joe Biden or whoever, but then you're on the hook for whatever hospital bills with whatever healthcare or lack of insurance you have. So I think that's the bigger issue, as you said, access. Even if it works, if it's a successful vaccine, which we all hope it is, who's going to pay for it? Who can afford it? Who's going to get it?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I see it just a little bit differently. I personally think that that poor people, Black people, are going to be the guinea pigs. I think that what they will make available to the rich and famous and is going to be different from what they're going to make available to us. I also feel as though because most low income and people of poverty have Medicaid and Medicare, that's going to pay for it. So the money, the issue of money being turned and folks, making money off of this is already set in stone. Just from my seat, I believe, Medicare and Medicaid is going to take care of us. Like Sierra said, we have nothing. It's not like with the measles or the smallpox and stuff, where we have years of statistical data that we can look at to know what the long-term effects is. They don't know. In a hurry, they made some stuff. And just like with the people who suffer from COVID now and who goes in the hospital, obviously what they're getting and what Trump and his crew got is totally different. So two different, so my position is that I'm on the Sierra side. I ain't sticking nothing in me. I'm gonna do the basics. I'm gonna keep masked up. I'm social distance. I'm gonna do the things that have worked for me for the last 9 months. Okay, right. That's what I'm gonna continue to do, and they can go ahead and promote that to anybody else who wants to be gullible for it. But I honestly believe that the low income and poverty stricken people are going to be the ones, and they're going to actually, what they're going to do is not only are they going to make it readily available for us, but I think they're also going to make it one of those vaccines that is mandated in school for kids. So I just don't have no, man, I don't believe the hype. I just don't. I just know, like CJ said, it's all about the money. And this has been in the works. This plan has been thought out long before all of this. So yeah, that's where I am with it.
What do you say, Gary?
Well, Sierra talked about the efficacy of this. We don't know the side effects. They're rushing it out. They say 94, 95%. But, long term, we don't know. It may stop you from getting the virus on one end, but, 2-3 years down the road, we don't know what it's going to look like. And they said you have to get it in 2 doses.
Right.
So, that's going to be interesting. And the storage capability is like really, I forgot how many degrees below freezing that it has to be kept. And not everyone around the country has the capability to store the vaccine. So there's still a lot of questions out there, but there are going to be people out there who want to get it. I'll wait till Dr. Fauci gets his and see if he going when he rolls up his sleeve, then we'll see. Maggie's on the line if you want to bring her in.
Yeah. Hey, Maggie, how you doing? Can you hear us, Maggie? Are you unmuted?
She needs to unmute.
Okay.
Trying to get on here today was that's another whole process. I've been trying to get on since 2:45. So
Wow.
there just was not, I went to, this is my second computer I've been on today. So, I kind of feel like this is similar to, you remember when measles, when we were little kids? I still have a little thing on my arm, that shows it. And, there were 2 batches that came out and one did not work as well. But if they say, take it, I'm tired of wearing a mask. I'm tired of not being able to do what I want to do. And I'm a believer that we're going to be shown the way. I will probably take the vaccine, not right at the very beginning, but I probably will take the vaccine. If nothing else, for freedom of mind and movement. However, I will continue to wear the mask and do that kind of stuff too. But, we're saying we're rushing it through, but I can't tell you how many invitations I've had to be part of a study. And I know that one of them had over 10,000 people in them. And when I went to at least see about it, there were a lot of minorities in there. The people that we are considered the lesser than to receive, but at least they were part of the initial study. And that gave me some hope. There were white folks there too, but there were the minorities definitely. And I'm not just talking about Blacks. I'm talking about Hispanics, Asians. There were a number of people there. I decided I didn't want to be part of it because I had to report at certain times, and I've just taken a new job, so I couldn't commit to it. But I'll probably take it. There's no sense of me acting like I won't. It will not be immediate. I know I'm not part of the first wave, but I heard somebody saying they thought it was a cash thing, but Pfizer didn't take any government money. They took nothing from it. So their studies, I consider a little bit more pure in the fact that they were really doing the research. They were doing it on their own with some partners around the world to help bring it here to us. Now, Moderna did take some money, not as much as they could have. And there are a few other companies that have also taken money, but Pfizer did not. And their whole thing was to really get, the research done and to help us move to a point where it's going to be mostly good. I don't care what you have out there. There's somebody that's going to be allergic to it. There's somebody that's going to have an adverse reaction. I mean, I have a friend who went to the hospital this spring because the doctor gave him medication that he'd been giving to many people he has a spine that's kind of curved and everything. He's had a lot of problems over the years, but he had an allergic reaction to this medication that thousands of people have taken, to the point where he almost died. They had to restart his heart 3 times. So there are always going to be people out there, no matter what you have. Like, I'm allergic to milk. I'm not allergic to penicillin, but I'm also allergic to aspirin.
Wow.
Now, saying go take that little aspirin if you have a heart attack or something, I can't do that because my body shakes. I start hyperventilating and everything else. So, they'll point out the 1 or 2 people who are going to be sick from it. But when, they give us the green light to go get it, I'm getting it. That's it.
Okay. Now, this next scenario, I want all of you to think about this. I just wrote a blog on Black men in America that says Trump gets the last laugh. What do I mean by Trump getting the last laugh? Even though he's lost the presidency, there's no doubt about that. Joe Biden is the new president. But what he has done over the past 3 to 4 years has devastated Black America. This guy has put 200 plus federal judges in place, and all of them have been white. Not one Black. You know what I'm saying? He had put 200 federal judges in place. Now just think about those judges that are in place that he put there, and think about the 2 that he put on the Supreme Court that includes our favorite uncle, Clarence Thomas. Now, that means that our young people are going to be in a hole so deep in the criminal justice system, they won't be able to climb their way out, because the last word is going to be through the federal courts. The federal courts. We may get by on one thing, but when you go to that federal court and you think about the people that Trump put in there, there are people who think like he does, and he knows that. So I'm saying I don't know exactly what the solution is, because I probably won't even be here for it. But Sierra, how do you feel about that?
When you say Trump has gotten the last laugh, I think of him obviously stacking the court, but also he's gotten what he wants, which is to awaken white supremacists.
That's right.
So even though he has lost, essentially he's won, because everything in the future is going to be in his favor. So he doesn't really need to be in office, like you said, because he's stacked the court. But as far as solutions, I honestly have no clue what you could do, because I'm not sure about the laws and regulations, but I don't think Biden can just take people out. I don't think so. There's really no solution unless, I know this is bad, but unless they pass and he can put someone new in place, there really isn't anything we can do unless they change the laws. But also that's going to be hard to do, because those are the people that have to approve the change laws. So yeah, I have no clue.
These are lifelong appointments, people, lifelong appointments. CJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you don't have a competent opposition party. There are consequences to primaries, and this is what happens. So I mean, there's not really much you can do. Like I said, Trump got his tax breaks for the rich. He got his judges rammed through. He got Supreme Court justices. That's why Mitch McConnell's willing to let him sink, because he basically got the Republican agenda he wanted. They don't really need Trump anymore. They can scapegoat him now at this point and try to salvage what's left of whatever the Republican Party reputation is, if there's anything left to salvage. But this is where we're at. It's a bleak picture, and we're looking at Joe Biden. He's not really offering any solutions. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do beyond 2022, 2024. The Democratic Party is not looking promising for them as an opposition party as a whole. So, and they're refusing. They don't want young voices in the party. So it is a little frustrating. So.
Okay, Juanita, your 2 cents?
My 2 cents. I
You know.
No, I'm just trying to say it the right way, I guess. The this is how I look at America. I think America as a whole has a tendency to have very short memories. We will get all hyped up about something. It'll go on for a couple of months. And then we stop being hyped about it. Maybe we find something else. The only thing that has been guaranteed in the history of America, as I see it, is white supremacy and the knee on the neck of us. Those are the only things that I've ever seen consistent in my lifetime. And so given that that's the way I see it, it really doesn't matter so much. It matters what he's done and the long-term effects of what it's going to have. But again, like I say, we got short memories. And if we utilize our time now in trying to trying to get some of our agenda pushed in the midst of the storm, then, just maybe some things will happen that will benefit us.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Gary?
Well, I mean, the judges at the local level, that's really what impacts a lot of us more than the Supreme Court justices. I mean, this is where we start, and things happen in our community, we go to these judges. Many of these judges haven't even received a passing, maybe I should say many, but some of them have not even received a passing grade from their own bar association. Some of them have never even tried cases. I mean, this is, but it is what it is. I mean, they're there. We didn't have, I mean, this is what happens for years of not voting and not paying attention to local politics.
That's right. Maggie?
I have a question, Papa Bell. So I remember when we were talking before, and y'all were talking about how there was a large number of vacancies left, judgeships left from after Obama left office. And I'm just wondering if Trump has filled like 200 of them, aren't there still like 300 left or something like that? And if that's the case, then maybe that's the pressure we need to put on Biden to it won't, you know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta fight fire with fire sometimes, So if they haven't, if Obama's administration for whatever reason wasn't able to accomplish that, then maybe that's one of the things that we can push the Biden administration to do, is to fill those other judgeships. I don't know.
Okay, Maggie?
I agree with her. It's like push that. And I agree with the other thing that Juanita said, people with short memories. And as I said, I've said many times, many times, I'm an eternal optimist. And even though CJ doesn't think that this administration is going to do anything once they're in office, I do. Because you got a Black woman that's going to be vice president, and she's going to make them more aware than any other two-part all-white group, or one Black president, one white vice president. I think that awareness, and also the fact that Black folks have awakened, and they want their voices heard more than they've been heard since the 60s. And I just think that the movement is not going to stop. It's going to progress. And there are a lot of really qualified judges, attorneys out there who can move into those judge positions and start making a difference. And there, like Juanita said, there are a number of other positions that still need to be filled. Are there 200? Yes. Are they lifetime? All we can wish for is the bad ones to have heart attacks and die. And that's not, being funny or anything, but, some of these people that have been appointed are old people, older citizens. And so I just think that I'm the eternal optimist. I think the best is still yet to come for this country. And I think a lot of it begins with Biden and Harris.
Yeah. I just, I want to go back to the judges. I came along in a great time, and when it comes to working with youth and youth gangs and at-risk children, that at the DC Superior Court, the greatest group of judges that I've ever seen in this town, especially Gary was saying on the local level, I had a posse of judges, starting with Luke Moore, Judge Henry Kennedy, Judge Eugene Hamilton, Ted Newman, Judge Weber. These guys and Harry T. Alexander, they cared about their people and they showed it in their courtroom. And I was there to be an eyewitness. I was there to watch Harry T. Alexander, he has never been given his just due. Even when he died, man, these folks should have been overrun at his funeral. There should have been stories been written about it. I was in his courtroom when he told each and every attorney and each cop in that courtroom that you are to address these defendants as Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. And I watched this redneck cop who kept addressing this brother as boy this and boy that. And Harry T. Alexander took his gavel and knocked it down. He said, case dismissed, mistaken identity. And everybody, black and white in the courtroom, stood up and applauded. Those judges, not only could you see them in the courtroom, but you could see them at my celebrity fashion shows, my Christmas toy parties, community activities. They were out there because they cared about the community. We have lost those kind of judges. We have lost those kind. We just lost another one a couple of days ago. I didn't know, I knew of him, but he wasn't in my posse of judges, and that's Bill Pryor. He just passed a couple of days ago. He was head of the federal court. He was the chief judge in the federal court and with the DC court. So we don't have those kind of judges around anymore, man. And that makes a difference, folks. That makes a difference.
Yes.
Sierra, come on in, Sierra.
Yes. I agree with the fact that we need better judges, because it's sad to say that America, we're kind of looked down upon because we accept briberies and we do everything in pursuit of money and power. So it's sad to say that the judges right now, there are some good ones, but a lot of them are ones that are susceptible to being, not looked down upon because they just accept bribes and everything. They do not care about the community. So I'm just hoping that in the future we get better judges, but there's no telling, because that is the American dream, is to be rich and powerful. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. CJ?
Yeah, as Sierra just stated, I mean, with Citizens United, basically bribery is legal in American politics. So you can take unlimited campaign donations from huge corporations and say that that's free speech somehow. So until that changes, there's really no way to end the corruption. The reason I don't think Joe Biden's going to do anything is I'm taking his word for it. He said nothing would fundamentally change to his donors. I'm looking at him already floating people like Rahm Emanuel for his cabinet and putting oil lobbyists. He's already double crossing the advocacy groups who put him in office, who he said he was going to fight for climate change and some things. He's already talking to oil lobbyists and put them in his cabinet and things like that. I mean, I know that's how the game is played, but that game is not serving anyone, not the American people. I like that Kamala Harris is Black, but she also takes a lot of special interest, big donor money, which is why they allow her to be vice president. It's not because she had a bunch of delegates and had a sweeping movement when she ran for president and she was the darling of the people. She is a favorite of the establishment. She takes big money. I like that she's Black. I think that's inspiring. I think that's a good thing. But if she's not for the people or for positions that the American people need, I don't really care about the identity politics of her being Black as much as I care about the positions that she's for and against in her record. That's all. It's not a personal thing against Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I'm going based off the evidence that they're giving us and Joe Biden's very long track record in politics and Kamala's record in politics. I'm just going based off their records and what they've shown us and what they're proposing policy-wise.
Maggie?
Well, here in Howard County, we just had a Black man knock out a judge who had been there for 15 years. And I'm really proud of our voters. We had 78% of the people who could vote in Howard County voted in Howard County. I'm not talking about minorities. I'm talking about straight across the board. And Gary Coleman won. No, Quincy Coleman. Quincy Coleman won. And I was really proud of it. You know, you're talking about a Black man who had been very much involved in the community over the years. And now he's a judge. He's got his seat for 15 years. And he knocked out an incumbent who had run and run and run and run, and obviously wasn't as involved in the community as much as he could have been. So, you know, as you said, Harold, you had your group of people who were there, who were part of you, who were part of the community. And I think that that's where a number of attorneys need to be and involved. I think of in Baltimore, Billy Murphy, who's everybody pretty much knows. Billy and a bunch of other guys even back in the 70s, they were so much involved in the community. And even though Billy never rose to be a judge, God, I can't remember his name. Robert, I want to say Robert Davis, but I know that's wrong, became a judge because of community involvement. And that is a way you start laying the foundation if you're active within a community and as an attorney, you know, probably occasionally doing some pro bono work and that kind of thing, but you make people become aware of you. You know, I look at Kwesi Mfume's run for the Senate, you know, his rerunning again. You know, he was placed in when Elijah Cummings passed away, and he beat everybody out. And then this woman, Black woman, who was a Republican, you know, came in, Keisha somebody or other, Kendricks or something. And, you know, I mean, she got money from everywhere. CJ, you talking about people taking money. This woman raised over $7 million. Now, you know, Black folks were not giving her that money. She got that big power Republican money. Kwesi's war chest was under $200,000. He won 70% of the vote. Okay. So again, somebody that's always been involved in the community. He started out years ago being a DJ on WEAA, the Morgan State University station. He was always doing fundraisers, doing all that other kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot of it and then, you know, NAACP, former representative, but it shows you the power that you can have without having a lot of money. Because he didn't have a lot of money, but he just did his job and he stayed connected to the community. So, Harold, that's how they got to do it. They got to build the foundation to grow on and go with it from there.
Okay. Gary, I want to do a thing now, stop by a cop. Would you run that video a couple of seconds for us and just take a look so I can kind of build that up and where we're going, come back in?
Sure thing.
Stop by a cop.
Here we go.
Law enforcement background too, but I spent most of my time in the corporate sector, and now I got my own. I say that to say this. I understand law enforcement probably better or just as well as other law enforcement officers because I've seen 3 different agencies. And I've also seen how those agencies work in terms of business culture. So what we've said, I committed to AJ, when we had our conference up in Michigan 2 years ago, 2018, that we will make and we will give back to the city of Ypsilanti and to the county of Washtenaw County. So we helped them to sign a licensing agreement with the city of Ypsilanti, a lifetime licensing agreement where they can show that movie in the city of Ypsilanti to whomever. We took it another step further and got the county of Washtenaw County, the sheriff's department, to sign a universal licensing agreement. And so now we can show that movie and facilitate that movie. So, and really when I say the movie and the movement throughout the entire county. And AJ, I have to tell you also, and the group, yesterday I met with our chapter in Rochester, New York. And guys, ladies and gentlemen, AJ advised me that Monroe County in upstate New York, Rochester, if anybody knows where Rochester, New York is, they're in the county of Monroe County. Well, we have a chapter up there. And yesterday I met with that chapter's leadership, their board. It was consisting of 12 people. And I shared with them what that universal licensing agreement is and what we will do as a chapter to facilitate, along with the police department, the showing, the book, and the work of Love is the Answer movement. So AJ and CJ, back to your points in there. When we signed on, we said, hey, this is a movement, not a moment. And wherever AJ goes in terms of getting universal lifetime licensing agreements, and we have a chapter, and this chapter is consisting of people who look like us here, that they will help facilitate and move that needle forward on those sheriff's departments. When we looked at Bucks County, Pennsylvania, that's right outside of Philadelphia. We got a Philadelphia chapter.
Is that good, Mr. B?
That's good. Okay.
All right.
The reason that I wanted you guys to see that, because when we had AJ Ali and Nat Alston, and I think my man Dwayne Bryan on about a week ago, all of us were jumping up and down because such great dialogue came out of those conversations. And I was happy because when I heard them mention Rochester, New York, this is a magazine that I used to write for about 10 years called About Time out of Rochester, New York. And I knew folks up there, and I knew how bad the racism and brutality was in the Rochester Police Department. So when they say they had moved in to Rochester, I said, man, that is great. Now, one thing, you don't never know who's watching us on Speak the Truth, on Black Men in America or what. But I got an email right away saying, Harold, man, Rochester, New York, and the police department is still one of the worst in the country. He said, I don't know what they're talking about coming in to Rochester. So I immediately tried to get in touch with AJ and with Nat all week. I didn't hear anything from them. So I'm saying, I've been through, police community relations, having softball teams with cops on them, having midnight basketball, and I've seen all of that work. But I have watched the FOP sabotage those programs because they don't want the cops to get close to the community. I've seen that. So when I heard what they were doing in Rochester, I jumped up and down. But I was also sent a story on what is taking place in the Rochester Police Department. 2 years ago, a guy by the name of Sylvan Simmons, he's driving home from the store with his neighbor in the car and backs into his driveway 10:30 at night. Now, he gets out of his car, all of a sudden this floodlight is put on him. No sirens, no nothing, I'm the police or nothing. They put this floodlight on him. And he lives in a high-risk crime area. So he thought maybe somebody's trying to rob him. So he saw this guy coming toward him with a gun. So what he instinctively did, unarmed, ran toward his back door, toward his home. His neighbor ran to his home. This cop shot him 3 times, once in the back, once in the leg, and once in the ankle. And he gets up to him, this brother's laying there bleeding. He goes through his pocket and find out this is the wrong guy. But you know what happens? They charged him with attempted murder of a cop. You know what the cops did? They put a gun nearby. He didn't have no fingerprints on it or anything. Now, they take this brother to the hospital, clinging to his life, put him on a ventilator, and handcuff him to the hospital bed. Then a judge comes in and tells him that it's $250,000 bond for him attempted murder of a cop. His parents drive 1,000 miles away to get to the hospital and see their son still clinging to his life, fighting for his life. They went to court, finally went to court. The FOP flexed their muscles. Judge in their corner found this brother guilty. The FOP, and how long have I been saying this about the FOP? They are the Ku Klux Klan. If you don't go in and start getting them out at the top in departments around the country, Man, we're fighting a losing battle. And this stuff goes on. This is in Rochester. So I was trying to catch up with AJ or Nat to tell me exactly what are you guys doing? Because one thing about inside sports or anything I'm doing, I want the correct information to get out there. I don't want to mislead anyone. Say, Harold, hey, that ain't right, man. So that is what's happening with police departments. And I know, Sierra, you have written a book on surviving the police. Tell us about that.
So I actually didn't write the book. The author is here, Eric Broyles. But the book is called Encounters with Police, A Black Man's Guide to Survival. And my project goal, I'm doing a community service project. I'm trying to get it out to as many teens as possible because with me being in my senior year, it was very nerve-wracking for me to get my license because this year we have an increased chance of contact with police. So I wanted to give this out to teens to sort of ease their pain and their anxiety when driving so that they had like these steps when they're in the car so they don't get nervous and there's no horrible interactions and that both parties can get home safely. And the main point of the book is to comply now, contest later, because us as teens, we feel the need to fight right on the spot, get our point across, well, when actually you're supposed to go home and then write a complaint later on. So can you, sorry, my mom just distracted me, but yeah, so my point is to try to get this to as many teens as possible and just to try to get an outreach because I know with myself and my social media platforms, I cannot reach as many people as I would like to. So right now I'm actually talking to Verizon so that they can get this book to their cities and areas where they're located. So it's actually been a good and very helpful project going on right now.
Yeah. Well, you can send that book to Gary and Gary will put it up on blackmeninamerica.com because it's great that this is coming from a young person like yourself. We need to hear your voice. We really do. We got a very low time. I want to give everybody a minute to address just what Sierra said and what I said. Let's start with you, Maggie, and then come on down.
We need to do everything we can to keep our young people safe and ourselves safe. That's my goal. You know, getting stopped by a cop. I haven't been stopped by a cop in a long time. And when I did, I didn't turn to him and say, what are you talking, you know, what are you trying to say? I, you know, tried being polite and everything, but that's the way I am. I'm an Army brat. So you have to be polite to people in general. But we really need to work as much as we can to get our communities back together. And it begins, you know, as usual, it begins with us, but also getting involved in any kind of community organization that's moving in the right direction. I mean, on the back of my car, other than voting matters and a chief sign, is choose civility. And then there's another one out, choose to be kind. And there are ways that we can help change the face of this country, but it happens basically one person at a time.
Right. Juanita, can you do a minute?
A minute? You talking to Juanita? No, I'm just joking. Really, just real 3 points. The gentrification in Washington, D.C., I remember how that happened, and in the neighborhoods was predominantly Black. Slowly they moved Hispanics in, so our eyes got used to seeing light. And then before long, the white came in who had already purchased the stuff. And so I'm making that point to say that, true enough, Kamala is who she is. Her history is what it is. But I take little pieces of good. And if nothing else, we had Obama, now we have her. So we're acclimating ourselves to a comfort zone to believe that White House can be anybody's house. And so that's the little piece of joy I get from that. And then I also, I wanted to say, being kind works. Being nice works. I'm not naive. I know all the bad things that my head can get filled up with and more that it can't. But the best thing that works for me is being an example of kindness, being an example of love. Even when people, and I'm gonna tell you, there are times when I get ghetto, push me, but that's very few times now, because I've learned that that's not the reaction to get the positive result. You know, I can be kind, I can be agreeable in a disagreeable situation, because at the end of the day, I want to come home safely. I want my family to come, and God knows I want these young people, man, to have an opportunity in life, which means it starts with them getting home or getting from point A to point B. So, Sierra, CJ, I'm just impressed with you guys. I mean, y'all give me hope. I don't have to agree with what y'all say. You don't have to agree with what I say, but the fact that at such a young age you are stepping up and doing something to have a impact on our world is it's wonderful. That's all I got. Was that a minute?
CJ, CJ.
Yeah,
Go
in
ahead,
terms
Steve.
of interacting with the police, I think I'm always of the philosophy, live to fight another day, similar to what some other people have been saying. It's just, don't give them a reason, especially in dealing with like marijuana advocacy and things like that. You just try to teach people to just know the laws, protect yourself, and don't give them a reason. The system is already built and baked unfair, so just don't give them any possible reason. And I think part of that is dialogue. I have a friend that's a cop, and I think some of the most productive conversations I've had is with somebody like him, somebody I don't agree with on these issues, going back and forth and just having a good faith dialogue with people you don't agree with. But the key is having a good faith dialogue and not arguing with a brick wall. Certain people are a lost cause, and knowing who's having an actual good faith debate with you and who is not, and who's just trolling you.
Mm-hmm. Gary?
Yeah, I've always said, don't get mad, get strategic. And so that's how sometimes, we're smart enough. We've been on both sides. We can beat most folks at their own game, but we just have to be smart about it. And like you say, like CJ said, you live for another day, And so it's just being strategic and get your wins incrementally. Small wins, build them up. So if something happens to Joe, we'll be talking about President Harris. So, it's not, outside the realm of possibility. So, yeah, but just be strategic.
All right. Sierra, you got a minute. Close us out, Sierra.
Okay. I'm just very interested on what these next 4 years are going to look like. And I'm hoping that this conversation has actually helped me with my personal life. I'm actually going to reach out and try to have those important conversations with my friends who are on the different political spectrums, because I don't want to lose friendships over politics. It's really not worth it. So this has been very insightful and very helpful. So thank you all for all of your points. But yes, I'm just really hoping that we can compromise. And again, I hope Joe Biden follows through with some of his words. And I also think that us as Black Americans, even though we always vote Democrat, I really think we should start asking for things in return instead of automatically giving our votes to that party. Because we see with Republicans, they make demands and they follow through with it. Versus us, we just automatically give our votes to the Democrat Party. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these next 4 years look like. And again, love is always the answer. So I'm very excited and interested in seeing what this world will be looking like when I get to you all's age. So yes.
All right. I hope you get here, baby. I know CJ will agree with you on that. I want to close out with telling you guys who Judge Bill Pryor was. Bill Pryor died this week. He was a former judge for the D.C. Superior and Federal Court of Appeals.
Yes, it is. 100%.
The Washington Post has his obituary in this week's edition, which is really a jump, because there are too many Black folks die, like my man Luke Moore and Garrett Mays, that don't get anything. We get very little credit for living and none for dying. And if we die, people don't even know it. So the Washington Post has Judge Pryor's obituary in there. But Judge Pryor was not a member of My Kids in Trouble posse during the 70s and 80s, led by Superior Court Judge Luke Moore, Harry T. Alexander, Ted Newman, Gene Hamilton, Henry Kennedy Jr., and Paul Weber. I like to let people know that, because let them know how blessed I was to have people like that in my corner. But Judge Pride was still a well-known native Washingtonian who earned his BA from Dartmouth College, his JD from Georgetown University Law Center. He received his LLM from the University of Virginia School of Law. He began his legal career as an attorney in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. He served as an Assistant United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. And in 1968, President Lyndon Johnson appointed him to the District of Columbia Superior Court. He was subsequently appointed to the District of Columbia Court of Appeals and served as its Chief Judge from 1984 to 1988. In 2011, Judge Pride received the Dr. Paul Phillips Cook Lifetime Achievement Award. Judge Pride was also a distinguished professor of law and a resident scholar. He taught at the University of District of Columbia before retiring in 2018. I would like to thank the Honorable Ted Newman for bringing the passing of this outstanding jurist to our attention. And Sierra, I want to thank you, Maggie, Juanita, of course, CJ, and our facilitator, Gary Johnson. And I just want you to remember that every Black face you see is not your brother, and every white face is not your enemy. And I want to wish everybody a safe and great Thanksgiving. Until next time, I'm Harold Bell, and you can call me Gone.
All right, everybody, this concludes our show. Be safe. This broadcast will be